Good afternoon. Once again, extending my gratitude to all those involved in the process and you, the viewer, for taking the time of watching these videos. So today we're going to go over some personal pronouns as well as our formal greeting introductions, and we're going to break them down in a way that are practical and easy for you to use in the daily life, because that's the best way of learning a language: immersion, making it part of your life. So if we can start using simple terminology to describe what we do on a daily basis, it's going to become part of our daily life and part of our ways of living. So that's going to really help us learn these methods. So we're going to start off. The traditional greeting that we have is Lios Enchi Ania. Lios Enchi Ania. Lios Enchi Ania has particular meaning. Lios, as you all may know, after 1519, we came in contact with the Catholic faith, and we adopted the terminology. Instead of using Achai Ta'a for, Father Son, Father Creator, we started using Lios, and that's something that was adopted by the nation as a whole, and it's something that has been as a greeting for more than 400 years. So we can say that it's now a tradition of our lives. So Lios is creator. Enchi Ania, Enchi describes you, and Ania describes help. So what you're saying in this greeting is, when you're greeting someone with that, is you're telling them, may the Creator be with you, may the Creator help you. So it carries a lot of weight. If you analyze the context, it says Lios Enchi, so God, you help. The way, this is something important for you to remember when you're speaking Hyaknoki, or the UAII language, that there will be a subject, in this case God, and yourself, but the verb comes at the end. So keep that in mind. It's not like when it's spoken in English, as in Creator be with you, you're at the end. In this case, you're right next after the subject, which is God being with you. Just keep that in mind. The response to that will be Lios Enchi Hiokoe. Lios Enchi Hiokoe. As you can tell already, Enchi is describing you, the viewer, from my point of view, speaking to you. Hiokoe, in this case, is a phrase that describes a blessing or forgiveness. The way the elders have taught us, us people, is that in order to have a blessing from someone, you first need to be forgiven for everything bad that's happened. There needs to be unity in order for a blessing to happen. So this is what it's calling. It's calling for forgiveness of everything that's happened, everything bad, but it's calling for a blessing to come right after. So it's something really that touches the heart if you really understand. It's much more than just saying, hello, how are you? I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. It carries weight within our culture, and that's what differentiates native languages from English and other languages that are Western. They actually carry weight and sentiment as you speak. Another greeting that you can argue is a bit less informal, but still plain to use within the tribe, is Kechamalea. Kechamalea is a question. So when you speak it, you can say Kechamalea, and you can also say Kechem Alea without a question form, and I'll explain the difference. When you're asking a question, you're directing it to the person, and it directly translates as, are you still happy? Is everything still good your way, right? But if you're not asking a question, then you're explaining yourself, everything is good here, right? Now the response to that greeting will be Ketui, right? Ketui, meaning ket, referring to still, everything is happening, and tui refers to the word good, or everything's well. So that's two ways that greeting can be used back and forth. A third and final greeting that's used within our nation is Haisahiwa, or Haisiwa, when it's shortened into a complex way of speaking, Haisiwa. Haisiwa directly translates to, what are you saying? How's it going? In more, I guess, sloppy terms, what's up? What's being said? right? It's something that's asked to one person in a way of informal greeting, right? A quick check-in with someone. And your response could be ranging from ka, K-A-A, ka, I see what, meaning nothing's being said. Or you can say ka, I see what, nothing's being said. Ke tui, nothing's being said, everything's good here. So this is just a couple of greetings for yourself to keep in mind. Lios enchi ania, lios hiokoe, enchi hiokoe utesiamu. Haisa empoteag, sai. Inepo Cesar Katatui. Now we're going to go on to pronouns like we said at the beginning. I believe it's really important that we start using those pronouns and replacing the he, she, they, those, that we use in our everyday life, at least within our home. So our children, our elders, our family members can get exposed to that aspect of the language and start making connections bit by bit. So I want to emphasize two words before I go into myself, right? Aapo and empo. Aapo describes the word she or he. And as you might notice, it doesn't really have a sex or a gender attached to it. Why is that? That is because in Yoeme, in the Yaqui culture, both the female and the male are seen as equal pieces or equal citizens of the nation, both equal parts to the existence of the nation. That's why there's no emphasis in between what gender it is. If it's a male, a female, or any other way of describing, the person. Another way of using that is what we describe as you, or empo. So in this case, empo will be the beer or yourself. Aapo, in this case, will be Jennifer to my left. Jennifer will be aapo. So if you and I are speaking, right, and I say empo, I have to be looking at you because I'm giving my direct attention to you. That's what empo implicates, giving the attention to that person. But if you and I are engaging in a conversation, I bring aapo into play, aapo. Aapo. Now I'm referring to the person on my left or the person on my right. In this case, the person on my left happens to be Jennifer. So aapo, I can still be looking at you and say aapo. Now you know I'm directing my attention to someone else, that either being he or she. In this case, it's a she. Now, what about yourself? How would you describe yourself? So the word for yourself, there's multiple words you can use, but the one more plainly used is inepo. Inepo, meaning I, right? In this case, it will be me. In this case, it could be you if you're saying it, right? From that word, there comes derivative meanings that can be used as replacive. For example, the word ne, N-E-E, ne, describing yourself. Another pronoun that can be used to describe all of us in the room is itepo. So in this case, itepo would be Daniel, Alex, Jennifer, and myself. We all, right? Itepo. Eme. Eme is a term that excludes myself from the conversation, but includes everyone else. In this case, it will be Alex, Daniel, and Jennifer, but myself is not included. Eme. Vempo. Vempo describes they, a crowd far away, right? It's not including yourself. It could be including the people in front of me right now if I'm talking to someone else, right? But not necessarily, right? Vempo, they. Now we're going to go into impersonal pronouns, which include the as singular form, the as in plural form, those, these, this, and that over there. So we're going to start off with the as in singular form. The camera that's currently filming me will be described as ime. Ime. The camera, right? In this case, ime tahin, the light that's hitting me, right? It's hitting my eyes. I'm describing something, right? Ime. Ime comes in first, describing what you're talking about. When it's something plural in Yoeme, and this is where it might get a little tricky, and we start saying, well, I thought the native language was a way that's simple in simple terms. But our people were not in any way, shape, or form ignorant people. they were by all means really smart and had their own ways of speaking and describing everything in a more complex way. It doesn't mean that it necessarily have to be used in an everyday language, because we have no one to impress. But there is terms that are used. So in this case, when you're saying something that's plural, in this case we have 2 cameras in the room, one not being used, we say ooh, right? Describing plural, right? Ooh, cameras, right? So if the second word, which is the subject, is being a plural, you use ooh to describe the multiple. That way it's formal. That way when it's written in a piece of paper, you understand in context what's being said. Another word that's really important to describe your environment is those, right? Those papers over there, wame, right? Wame papel, right? The paper over there, those papers over there. There's multiple in this case, those, wame, W-A-M-E. In this case, I'm not sure if you can see them, but I have a binder sitting in my lap with paperwork. In this case, these papers, y papel, right? These papers, y papel, right? Is describing the paper I have in my lab. These papers, T-H-E-S-E. On the other hand, this is a water bottle, right? If I'm describing this water right here, which seems really tasty since I've been speaking for such a long time. Ume ba'am. This water bottle right here, this water that I'm holding. Ume ba'am. Right? The impersonal pronoun comes first, then whatever I'm describing. Ume ba'am. This water. Additionally, one final thing that I would like to emphasize is the word wa. Wa describes that over there. In this case, that will be the camera. That over there. Wa cámara. The camera over there. Well, I hope that all this information we've gone over can be helpful and can be used in your everyday life. And this is just the beginning of using personal and impersonal pronouns. Thank you for your time.